So it's been about 6 days since CM Punk's alleged pipe bomb on Raw. Um, and during the one of the best eras of WWE, I'm being sarcastic here in case you're watching and you're taking everything seriously. 2019 SmackDown and Raw, the best time to be a wrestling fan. CM Punk, he was an inspiration to me as far as the whole wrestling promo stuff because I just cut it from the heart in my living room or to my uncles or whoever I was playing around with at the time, and to see the complete fraudulence, and the hypocrisy and the just the corporate shilling and the just Uncle Phil, man. Uncle Phil is just a corporate shill at this point. He's Shill Brooks, man, and it's really unfortunate that CM Punk is literally everything. He is the antithesis. He's the human embodiment of everything that he's fought against, and it's unfortunate to see. Now, I say this because, you know, being a wrestling fan, you get wooed pretty easily if you're like, easily entertained or whatever. But, I usually in this era of WWE, I don't really take everything to heart. I kind of take things with a grain of salt most of the time when people say it's a pipe bomb or it's a shoot or this is not scripted or whatever. But then Fightful Select came out with something that apparently said that CM Punk's pipe bomb that was straight from the heart had a writer. It was not real. It was not what it was June 27th or June 17th of 2011, which was coincidentally John Cena's debut day, which is kind of cool. Um, but yeah, details listed on who was the writer for CM Punk's promo on Raw. Fightful Select reports that Succotash, Sean, was listed as the writer for CM Punk's promo Monday in WWE Raw. Major, major point of major conversation backstage. Uh, you know, that's no longer a pipe bomb. It's not a legitimate pipe bomb. If you got somebody ghostwriting your stuff like your Drake and Cardi B, this isn't just, you know, see, it's deeper than this because, people will say that the company's safe, and just because they have a couple scripted promos that feel real, WrestleMania is saved, even though we haven't had a good WrestleMania season after the Royal Rumble, after Roman Reigns openly said, "Yeah, this WrestleMania track, I step away from 2 years, and creative still can't build any stars. They can't build any star power. The writing sucks, and the character work is trash because they're given nothing by creative." But then he thanked Nick Khan, but not Triple H, because Triple H is a person who's head of content. He's the head of creative. But whenever creative is bad, people blame TKO and people blame, Road Dogg, but now Road Dogg's gone, so there's back to TKO. But the thing is, even if TKO were, shoehorning in these people, and it was out of Triple H's hands because they were desperate for ticket sales and all that stuff, that still falls onto Triple H at some point because they wouldn't have to feel desperate for ticket sales if the build was actually good and writing wasn't trash on a weekly basis. This is weekly TV. 50 weeks on, no seasons off. WWE doesn't have an off season. So TKO isn't just, it's ridiculous. TKO isn't telling him to not have any stories after he puts the mid card titles on people. He's not telling TKO isn't, forcing him to not put any effort into the tag team division. TKO is not telling WWE, hey, yeah, let's, even though that y'all ended Wyatt 6 versus the MFTs, let's just run it back one more time in an 8-person street fight. Nobody's forcing anyone to do that. TKO they have nothing to do with why the product doesn't have any star power, because people get 50-50 booked. This is not a TKO problem. But I digress. I was listening to CM Punk's promo a couple times. That was written by Ben Sakio I don't want to say his name incorrectly, even though I already have. But the dude's name looks European of some sort. But yeah, a couple things that make zero sense about his promo. I was taking notes during the promo, so I'm just gonna go down the list. One says, Roman Reigns says I'm old, but I'm not weak. Now the thing is, a few weeks ago, Roman Reigns he brought up AJ Lee. So another man bringing up your wife isn't fighting words, but him mentioning that you're old is, and then you say that you're old, and then you claim that you're old after he already said that you're old, and that was what caused you to punch him. So not him bringing up your girl, but him saying, "Yeah, you have gray hair and you're old." Another thing that doesn't really make sense to me is that he says that I stayed away after of years of spite and self-belief. But the thing is, he didn't stay away. He didn't leave because, of self-belief and spite. He went away because he says that allegedly the weird old man was holding him down, but the weird old man gave him a spot at WrestleMania against the Undertaker. Had a storyline with him and Paul Bearer when he was when Paul Heyman was he had the makeup like Paul Bearer, and he was all pouring out the ashes and all that stuff. That it's not really holding you back. And then, of course, Chicago, July 17th, 2011, one of the most iconic matches of his. Gave him the championship, had a very long run with that. I'm not really sure how that's holding him down. But then he went on to say that he's too old and too rich to give a damn. So which means that, he mentions his money constantly throughout this promo, at least 2 or 3 times. And then he mentions that he's old again. So he mentions how old he is and how rich he is. But I thought that you were triggered when Roman called you old. So why is he saying that he's old? And then he said, about he clowned Roman Reigns for being on Jimmy Fallon. But I did some common sensory, and CM Punk while he was champion. Wait, I'm sorry. I don't get how he was champion when when he was being held down by the doofus, when he was being held down by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was holding him down, right? We got to keep these lies together because that's what the writer who scripted CM Punk's promo, he wrote in there. About Roman Reigns is not being a real champion because he went on Jimmy Fallon. So yeah, Roman Reigns is not a real champion. He never was because he went on Jimmy Fallon. I don't think the writer watched during Punk's run then, when he was champion. CM Punk was on Jimmy Fallon. And then he said something about he's too dangerous. CM Punk calls himself dangerous and says that he's going to do and say what he wants and, what I'm going to say or do or whatever. And then he says that he never needed a wise man. But in 2013... Paul Heyman and CM Punk were besties, and then Paul Heyman ended up turning his back on CM Punk and in favor of Brock Lesnar. But CM Punk was indeed a wise. He was a Paul Heyman guy. And then he went on to say that Roman Reigns, he needed his Neville baby status because he sucked at football. But then I just thought of CM Punk's. He was talking about but then CM Punk has damn leukemia, and they tested his blood. So and then what made this even weirder is because CM Punk he pretty much did the same thing when he went away from WWE and had his run in the UFC. I don't think this writer who wrote for CM Punk's fake pipe bomb, I don't think he knew anything about CM Punk. I don't think he knew anything about Uncle Phil, bro. This dude legit just, there's so many, I can't believe CM Punk approved this though. But then again, these wrestlers, they don't really think too highly of the fans. I don't either in the arenas. The fans in the arenas are bots and stupid anyways. Another thing. CM Punk, he said one of his first promos back, he said that he's here to make money, not friends. And then he went on to say, I think recently he said that, if he already main evented WrestleMania, he wouldn't even feel the need to come back to WWE. And then just calling out the hypocrisies. So if this were to be a real pipe bomb, he would have brought up Triple H. Now the reason why this, another reason why this isn't real, because Ari, it's supposed to be a fake TKO versus WWE war or whatever, but Ari isn't being brought up, and neither is anyone else. In a pipe bomb, Vince was brought up. In this fake pipe bomb, no one's being brought up. No one of the higher, status or whatever. Another thing that I find weird is that, CM Punk, he said that, Vince McMahon was holding him back or whatever. But Triple H, he came out and said publicly, he confirmed that he stopped CM Punk from coming back way before Survivor Series 2023. So apparently CM Punk was going to come back to the company, WWE, before Survivor Series, and CM Punk was in a meeting with Vince, and then Triple H convinced Vince McMahon to not bring him back. So which ended up in the meanwhile costing CM Punk millions of dollars. So CM Punk being given WWE Championship reigns was being held back by Vince, but Triple H costing the dude millions of dollars in the long run, that's okay. The logic isn't there, man. It's not there. Okay. And then more of these dog food and all that garbage. We go to FU money. Yes, he brings up more FU money. But the thing is, he was AEW world champion. This promo pipe bomb scripted thing would make you. It doesn't even give the impression that he even left. If it wasn't for that, I took my dignity somewhere else or whatever. But went to UFC, and then they said that, and then he said, "You can't control me. They can't control me." But then apparently, when they were in Saudi Arabia, CM Punk apologized to a fan, but then reports came out that that fan was indeed a plant and not a real fan. So, which means that he was controlled. Then he said that, he can't be blackballed. Then he said that this is my business, Pat McAfee. But the thing is, I don't think MAGA would be. They were in Texas, I believe, and Texas voted for Trump. Like majority of the Texans voted for Trump, and majority of America voted for Trump. I don't give a damn about no damn politics, but a lot of people voted for Trump, so I'm not sure how that would be an insult to majority of the people who are watching. And the last time I checked, how is saying Pat McAfee an insult when Donald Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame? Triple H is always at the White House. WWE is like always entangled with the Donald Trump administration and the White House. Linda McMahon is literally, I think, one of Donald Trump's people. How is that an insult to Pat I don't understand. And then he said, Pat McAfee has the nerve to come into my business. But the thing is, CM Punk left the business for so long. He left the business for a hot minute. He left sports entertainment, for like, almost 10 years. And then he said the ticket prices, blah, 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 blah. And then, this past Friday, Pat McAfee's whole surprise was 25% off because they had to fake this TKO award to sell tickets and stuff. So, dude, like there's, he's so fake, man. This is really unfortunate. I still like the character, but CM Punk every promo he has, it feels like it's shoehorned in, you know. And then, you know, I was looking back at some old AEW clips and whatnot, and then he said something along the lines of I think it was so it was him and MJF having a rivalry, and he was making fun of MJF or something, and then he said, you know, you can go ahead and leave and go to WWE. If you think the grass is greener on the other side, be my guest. Go main event, buy one get four free extravaganza. So he's talking about WrestleMania. So he was making fun of MJF and saying, "Hey, if you want to be a clown and main event WrestleMania, go ahead, go to WWE. I left that place, but." That aged terribly because not only will he be main eventing WrestleMania, but he's currently a world champion. So, dude, just I don't know, man. None of this really makes sense. Because I don't know, like it's just hypocrisy after hypocrisy after hypocrisy. And it's hard to get invested in CM Punk, to be honest, because everything that the dude has said is either not true or it's something that he did in the past, like clowning Roman Reigns for going on Jimmy Fallon. I don't know, man. Yeah, but uh, yeah, I don't know. I just usually like to do research before I just get too happy and, get swayed and say, oh my gosh, he used buzzwords. This is totally a word. This is totally a shoot. He just used buzzwords, but yeah, this is not even real apparently because all of this is stuff he's done, stuff that he's doing now. Talking about go main event a four night buy one get four free extravaganza. That's literally WrestleMania, and he's going to main event. I don't know, man, but let me know what you think down in the comments below about this. Yeah, until next time, I guess. Oh, and another thing. Apparently, Vince and CM Punk shared a flight, but CM Punk doesn't associate himself with the weird old man. Apparently. Oh, also, he made a shot at The Rock and Roman being in the movie franchise, but CM Punk has movies too, because when he was on his hiatus for a decade from the company that he came back to and he clowned people for being in, he was trying to be a movie star as well. He's had a few movies, a horror movie, all that stuff, but he doesn't bring that up. But yeah. Oh, and another thing. Apparently, Vince and CM Punk shared a flight, uh, but CM Punk doesn't associate himself with the weird old man. Apparently. Oh, also, he made a shot at The Rock and Roman being in the movie franchise, but CM Punk has movies too, because when he was on his hiatus for a decade from the company that he came back to and he clowned people for being in, he was trying to be a movie star as well. He's had a few movies, a horror movie, all that stuff, but he doesn't talk. He doesn't bring that up. But yeah.